there wasn't anything that we felt would be of the quality that we wanted to serve our guests. Fair. And, just very difficult to get it. So, and we do have a couple of English beers that are available in bottle. But for the draft, we decided to lean into Guinness, and we worked with the folks from Guinness before we opened the restaurant. So we wanted to make sure that we had the infrastructure right, because you have to do Guinness correctly. So we figured that bit out. We sell a lot of Guinness. We trained all of the staff, not just the bartenders, on how to pour a pint of Guinness correctly.
Right, which that's serious. I know that.
Well,
if you mess it up, I mean, everyone's going to get really mad.
So it is important. And then the other thing is, I want everybody in the restaurant to be able to identify what a pint looks like and what it should look like, so that if for whatever reason something doesn't look correct, we can stop it before it hits the table.
Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm your host, Justin Chopin, business owner, lawyer, dad, world's best husband, traveler, and adventure seeker. On this podcast, we mix business with pleasure. We'll dive into growth strategies, entrepreneurial adventures, the business of law, and prove that business isn't boring. So let's get ready, because we are going above the legal limit. Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm super excited today because we're doing something very different. We are not in my usual sterile white conference room. We're in a very nice, beautiful British pub. We're here with Andrew Bell, the owner of the Bell, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for letting us do this, because we just call them up and we're like, hey, I really want to occupy your business for the day, because I think it's super cool that you've opened up, and you graciously, or we tricked you or something, I don't know, but graciously said yes.
Well, welcome to the Bell.
Yeah. So when I saw you guys first open, I got really excited because I love pub culture, in England. And I love that everybody, we have our own version maybe in New Orleans of the neighborhood bar, but it's really different, right? I mean, the pub culture in England's really elegant. Right. They're very pretty. And, especially in London, right, there's lovely woodwork and the food is amazing. We are we're slinging, beers and cocktails here. But so when I saw you opening it up, it's been on my mind. It's I need to make my way over there and I need to check it out. So today's the day. You've actually been open for a while now, so I apologize. I'm late. I'm not very good at timeliness. My wife will tell you. But today's the day I finally get to check it out. So what inspired you to open the Bell?
Well, so, first of all, welcome to the Bell. And you're right, we are in, it's a pub.
Right.
It feels like a pub. We're a nice little restaurant, and we feel, and we've made it feel like the sort of pub you describe that you might go to in a nice part of London, St. James or Mayfair. And, we focus on the food. And the reason we did this, my business partners are restaurateurs.
Okay.
It's not my background, but it's something that we had talked about. My friend Tim and I had talked about for many years. And when we saw this property was available, we were familiar with the neighborhood, and we thought, this is a cool spot. Perhaps we can do something that becomes, a fixture within the neighborhood, and we'll be one of those. Will be one of those neighborhood restaurants or bars that people gather at, and we'll create some nice memories there.
I think this is a great neighborhood for a pub like this because when I realized where it was when I was kind of stalking the Bell, and I was no, that's a good spot, because we were just talking about this, Helena, my marketing coordinator in the back, about another bar in town that's unfortunately closing. And I was yeah, but they opened on a corner with 5 or 6 really long established bars that have been around for so long.
Sure. They
could take COVID 10 times over and it probably wouldn't matter. Right. And so I was that's just hard. But I think this is a great spot. It's a great neighborhood. It's a pretty neighborhood. It services so many parts. So I don't live that far away. I'm on the other side of City Park. Mm-hmm. You've got Mid City, and you've got the Marigny, and so I love this neighborhood. And so that's cool. It's very awesome.
When I moved to New Orleans in 2020.
Okay.
Just before COVID, and
right.
I lived in the French Quarter for a couple of years, and then I moved into Tremé. And when we took over this space, I was you know what? If we do this, I think I'm going to move into the neighborhood, because it seems really, neighborhoody,
right.
And, walkable, and there's good stuff. There's Degas next door. We've got 1,000 Figs, Canseco's. We've got Pal's Lounge. So I've lived in the neighborhood now for almost 2 years, and it's kind of what I imagined and hoped it would be. Yeah. And for us opening a business here, again, it's something where we were like, well, I think, we're not gonna turn tourists away, of course, but we didn't open this restaurant for tourists. We opened this restaurant to serve the community that I live in, that we live in here in Faubourg Saint John in Bayou Saint John.
Well, I think New Orleans is fun. Like we will absolutely accept new businesses into the neighborhood. Like we love that. I think some cities and sometimes New Orleanians, I think we can get a bad rap because we have so many tourists. Sometimes it's like you feel like you're at Disney. But if you open a business here, I find the neighbors really embrace it. And I can only imagine that they've embraced you full fold. I'm watching your Instagram game. And I saw the picture of your steak and Guinness pie.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, Lindsay is my wife. I was like, why aren't we having this? I was like, why won't you make me a steak and Guinness pie? But I was like, man, I need one of those. Like we're coming back. I've got my eye on that. I love it. Do y'all do like the bottom crust? Like,
so with the steak and Guinness pie, that's a new item on the menu. We actually just do a pastry across the top. And it's really, we serve a really nice steak and chips, which we use the cut of the steak is culotte.
Okay.
But the way that we trim the steak, there's always some discarded steak, and so we were able to come up with a recipe where we could use that in a steak and Guinness pie, which is a traditional English, Irish thing that you might find in a nice pub, and it's absolutely delicious. Our prep chef Isabelle is a native of France. She's an amazing baker, and she perfected the crust immediately. So
very cool.
We just unveiled that this week.
It looks awesome. So if you're like following this, which you're not, nobody's watching this, it's okay. But if you are, you really need to look at it. Go follow him on Instagram. So my wife and I, we just took the kids. We had a very unique idea. We're like, no one's ever even thought of this. We were like, what if we took the kids? Don't tell anyone. But what if we took them to London? And we're like the only Americans or Europeans who do that. We're like, it's just a super unique idea. She's like, it's an amazing idea. We should take our kids. They were like, at that point, they were 9 and 7. We should take them to London. My son loves the Beatles.
Sure.
I love pubs, and why not? And it's very accessible for Americans, conceptually, right? You're not like, I'm not taking them to like Turkey or something where it's very foreign. So we got there, and it turns out other Americans had the same idea this summer to take their families to London. I've never in my life seen London that crowded ever. I've never seen Europe that crowded. It was wild. But we had a really great time, and we went for Father's Day. And I actually didn't know, I'd been to England a few times, but I wasn't familiar with Sunday roast.
Oh,
to
yes.
me, I was like, it wasn't anything I'd heard of. And my wife is much smarter than me. She says, like, we're going to go for Sunday roast on Father's Day. And I was like, cool. I don't know what that is, but I love the word roast.
Did you go to a pub and have a Sunday roast?
So I don't know the answer to that. She would know because she's my itinerary. So I'm like the worst. I'm very freeform. I'm the kind of person who will get off the plane with like no idea of like what I want to do, and I would just make my way. She's got a spreadsheet, right? So it's perfect for me. And so we went. It was very. I would say it was. I don't know that you would call it a pub. It was. Maybe it's like this. It's like very beautiful on the. When you walk in downstairs, it has a long bar, couple of tables, and then upstairs has a much more restaurant quality to it, but also again another bar. So I was probably like a pub. We Googled it. We're just like, what best Sunday roast ever near me, and it was the best time. It was actually not. It was awful. My kids were miserable the whole time. They were so bad, but the food was amazing, and they brought me a beer because it was Father's Day, and I got to experience Sunday roast for the first time with the Yorkshire puddings and all the these crispy potatoes. I thought it was a lot of fun. So on Sunday, my wife she decided
to make a roast.
We're going to do Sunday roast at the Chopin family.
Oh, well done.
It was a lot of fun. She even did the Yorkshire puddings. So she's very adventurous.
Yorkshire pudding's kind of tricky. And in this climate, maybe more tricky because it's so humid.
It is. So I had to tread lightly on this, right? Because you can't be like, hey, babe, your Yorkshire puddings don't taste like the ones in London.
Sure.
Right. She doesn't watch my podcast. So for perfectly within my rights to say any of this. She'll never see this. But they weren't. Yeah, it was like dense in the middle. And,
no.
But she's from Indiana, so she doesn't know like the humidity, how humidity, changes things. So the first time I met her, she's a very adventurous cook. She's trying to do like a, I forget what whatever, like the Yule log, right? Like a Noël bûche. And it was a particularly humid December day, and it's just like destroyed, and she's so pissed that she can't figure out what's wrong. And she had only been in New Orleans for maybe a couple of years at that point. I was like, I'm just going to tell you right now, like, this will never work here. And she's just getting mad. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, like, you can't, it's too humid. Like, there are certain items that you can't make here, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to Paris and have the best pastry of your life, and you can ship that guy and all his ingredients over, and you could set him up in New Orleans on a day like today and ask him to make you a croissant, and you're going to hate it. It's going to be like gummy. Because there's in no universe, would that work.
My brother and I make Yorkshire puddings at Christmas, and we have a Yorkshire pudding competition. The trick is right before you put the mix into the oven is to put a bit of cold water in. And we usually go outside. I put my mix outside for half an hour to get it cold, and then I splash some cold tap water in, and then it bursts up when it goes into the hot oven. But you see, that wouldn't work in New Orleans.
No, yeah, it was just more water to for the water. But it was a lot of fun. I think it's a fun tradition. We're going to do it again. Like, that's going to be like our new thing. So if you guys are open on Sunday, you can steal that idea. You could be Sunday roast. I came up with this.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Thanks for giving me my own culture back.
We've talked about doing a Sunday roast. We do have roast chicken on the menu, which comes with a parsnip puree. We haven't done the Yorkshire puddings yet, but it's coming.
It is coming.
It's coming.
See, all right. Well, good.
When it cools down a bit in the in New Orleans.
Well, today is a particularly hot and disgusting. This is like the most New Orleans day that's ever been. So I'm being coached here by my marketing crew. They're telling me I need to talk about FIFA, and this will be fun for you to talk about soccer with someone who doesn't know shit about soccer. I don't even know what FIFA is. What is it?
FIFA is the international governing board for soccer. It's not international; it's global. So
that's embarrassing for me.
That's the group that run the game. They administer the game, create the rules for the game, and it's it's the way that players are transferred.
Got it.
And that everything is organized.
So it's like the International Olympic Committee, essentially, but for soccer, for a different sport.
Yeah, it's actually exactly like that. Or
okay.
if the NFL was global, NFL would be the global, business arm of that sport.
Fascinating that soccer has taken off all over the world, and American football just can't catch on. I know the Saints will go to London. I know they like really want it to take off. Why do you think that is?
I can remember growing up watching American football in England. They'd show one game a week. But I think it actually is very popular globally now, much more so in the last decade. And, to your point, they've taken games to Europe, to London, to Germany. They played a game annually now, it seems, in Brazil. So that they are widening the reach, and there's obvious reasons to do that.
Sure. Do you think there'll ever be like an international federation of? But they're gonna have to come up with a new name.
I wouldn't. Honestly,
South America is gonna get real confused.
It wouldn't surprise me if a franchise played out of Europe. I mean, it's a 7-hour direct 6-hour flight from New York. So
Elon Musk is gonna make it in like 60 minutes for us. He's gonna put a little Hyperloop. I read an article about the Hyperloop, and we're gonna be in London. We could go for dinner. And then come back.
Great.
You can go. Do you still have family in London?
Not in London. So I grew up in a small town called Wokingham, just outside of London.
Okay.
But now the family I have in England, it's my brother, sister, and my mom are all in the Cotswolds.
Okay.
Which is it's an hour and a half outside of.
I was going to nod and say like I knew where that was. I didn't want to, I was like, yeah, of course, I know exactly where that is. Last time, so we were there with the family, lovely time, insanely hot, insanely crowded. Still had a great time. Took the kids to Abbey Road.
Oh, nice.
We were so. You reach a point in life where it's like, just be a tourist. Like if you're on Abbey Road, just freaking walk across the crosswalk. And I think it's hilarious because everyone knows what you're doing because 24/7. Right, people are going to Abbey Road and they're doing it, and so but I'm like a parent, like I'm hyperventilating because my kids are just lunging out onto an actual intersection of traffic. I'm like, please do not do this. They're like, shut up, Dad. It's like, thank you for that. So we did all the touristy things, and it was a lot of fun. But my first brush with England, was in 2000. And before we were going to go study abroad, we set aside a few weeks to do all of it, except for Ireland. We couldn't, that was officially too far. But the British rail system is so nice, that we spent a couple of days in London. We went over to, Canterbury. We went up into like York, which was a lot of fun.
Sure.
I really want to take my family back. I think the kids would love that, right? And then like Newcastle and Edinburgh, and just kind of wove our way around. And it's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful countryside. We had a lot of fun. I think that the people were very nice and very approachable. The pub culture, like I already said, was like a lot of fun, especially when you're 20, right? And, everything's fun when you're 20. We just, I think it's a really awesome place and very approachable for Americans, but culturally different so that you can still kind of experience something else.
I think it's interesting, when you travel and, going from now, I've lived in America for 30 years. So when I go back to England, I feel some of the same things that you're describing. And I was in London, not this Christmas, the one previously, and I went as a tourist, honestly, and it was great. You see things that you because you're English and you grow up with it, but it's, going to look at Buckingham Palace, it's lovely. And it's like when you see, folks coming to New Orleans, there's loads of interesting things to do. And as New Orleanians, we kind of take it for granted sometimes.
Oh, all the time, right? Except for like special occasions, like Mardi Gras, we'll like allow ourselves, maybe Christmas time. But yeah, I always love seeing tourists walk around New Orleans with like wide eyes. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you can kind of look back and be like, it's just an oak tree, but, but it's not, it's pretty.
I think New Orleans feels very glamorous and interesting to people that are not from New Orleans, and I have family and friends have visited me, of course, over the years, and they're excited about it. And when you tell people when I was in England or when I'm out of the country, and you say, well, I live in the United States, I live in New Orleans, it's like, oh wow, I've always wanted to go to New Orleans. Oh, I love jazz, I love jazz music. I love that culture that you guys have in that city.
It's a fun culture. We are definitely our own place. We are our confederacy of dunces, right? It's not, he didn't make that up. You turn on the news and you can't help but smile, right? Just like what's going on with the mayor today, no matter what your opinion is on it, you're like, oh man, this is like, where else could you get such easy news for some of this, just watching some of this stuff play out. So hey, 6 years is a long time to invest in New Orleans. So I won't say welcome to New Orleans, because you've already done so much. You've opened a business here is what we want. Like we want people coming here.
Sure.
We want them opening businesses, and then now you have employees, and you're creating tax dollars. This is what we desperately need here. So I love anybody who's willing to like come here, because for every one of you, there's like 1,000 that are fleeing the shores. They just did a study on where people are leaving Louisiana from. Like, I don't think I said that right, but where are they going? And they used U-Haul to figure it out. So they said, well, we're tracking the U-Haul one ways, and they said everyone in Louisiana is moving to Austin. Huh. That was the conclusion based on U-Haul, or just somebody has rented just a ton of U-Hauls to take to Austin. It's one or the other. No one's, jury's out.
I think for me personally, and I've lived in various cities in the United States, and I've been here a long time. This, to me, New Orleans is one of, if not the last interesting place live in America.
All right, I want you to talk to me about the proper pint, right? And
Sure.
so tell me, because I know there's like component parts. I need it like, so what does that mean?
This is very important.
All
So
right.
this is a good subject.
Yes.
So we're an English pub, but we lean very heavily into our Guinness. So we looked. There really isn't the beer market has changed dramatically in the last decade.
Yeah.
And in the last 5 years, it's happened again. So it's very hard to find draft English ale that you can sell consistently in America.
So that was gonna be my follow-up question, because I love like a cask ale.
Right.
And I was gonna wait. Like, when's it coming?
We looked at the options, and there wasn't anything that we felt would be of the quality that we wanted to serve our guests.
Fair.
And just very difficult to get it. So, and we do have a couple of English beers that are available in bottle, but for the draft, we decided to lean into Guinness. And we worked with the folks from Guinness before we opened the restaurant, so we wanted to make sure that we had the infrastructure right.
Okay.
Because you have to do Guinness correctly. So we figured that bit out. We sell a lot of Guinness. We trained all of the staff, not just the bartenders, on how to pour a pint of Guinness correctly.
Right,
which
that's serious. I know that.
Well,
you can't, if you mess it up, I mean, everyone's going to get really mad.
So it is important. And then the other thing is, I want everybody in the restaurant to be able to identify what a pint looks like and what it should look like, so that if for whatever reason something doesn't look correct, we can stop it before it hits the table.
Yeah.
So my mantra is, we want to serve the absolute best pint of Guinness that you could have outside of Ireland. We want to serve the best pint of Guinness you could buy in New Orleans. There are some great pints around the city. We want to be equivalent to or better than that, which is a mindset. And Guinness is interesting. It's a double pour. So for us, it starts with a proper imperial pint glass. So we use a 20-ounce pint glass instead of the 16-ounce American pint.
Okay.
And the way you pour it, you angle the glass, you pour it to about 3/4, and then you set it down away from the tap. It's supposed to sit there for 119.5 seconds, and then you bring it back, and there's
half second.
And then there's a reverse pour, which is a little slower, and that brings the creamy head to the top,
Okay.
which should be the right size. It shouldn't be too big or too small. It should just crest the top of the glass. And if you can accomplish all of that without dropping it on the way to the table,
right,
it's a perfect pint of Guinness.
Fascinating. All right. Well, we're gonna do one. We're gonna grab one later. Because that sounds. And now I'm just like foaming at the mouth. There are a lot of places where you can get Guinness, and I always think it's really funny because, like New Orleans is New Orleans, right? I mean, like you can go to like the po' boy shop and they'll have like a Guinness and they'll give it to you in like a plastic cup, and you're just like, oh, man, that's really not the same. That's really
the world of social media. The world of social media has made that sort of thing difficult. So if you don't do something correctly, there are people out there who literally all they do is highlight bad pours.
Oh God. Okay.
So I tell the folks, the bartenders and the staff, listen, we do a great pint of Guinness, and I'm very vocal about it, and we tell the guests, let me know what you think. This should be perfect. And what we don't want is to see one of those pints on the internet and they're like, oh, look at this pint.
Right. You don't want to be that
Andrew Bell sold
victim.
Me. Dreadful pint of Guinness.
It's like one bad day. You have one bad day, and we deal with this a lot in the law firm, right? So what we want 5-star reviews. We want happy clients to walk out of our office and they go tell all their friends if you're injured, et cetera. And then we want them to go on Google and we want them to leave us 5-star reviews. And so we're always encouraging that, which means, when you put yourself out there, you can get a lot of bad press too. And so we we deal with it. We had a guy call the firm. He wanted money for donuts. And I had a new receptionist. Bless her. She's still with the firm. She's fabulous. She's now moved up. And but she didn't. What do you do? And it'd be like someone calling the bell and saying, I would like, I'd like to buy a car, right? Or like, hey, do you have pizza? Right? And so she's like, well, I don't think I understand. He goes, I would like to sell you donuts. So she says, no. and maybe like, no, get lost, like you weirdo. It's a great learning lesson in life. So he goes on social media and he goes on, the Google or whatever, and he just roasts us. He's like, don't go to the Chopin law firm. They don't care about their community. Okay. Next line, you're like, I'm trying to work a fundraiser selling donuts to help the homeless. So I actually see the bad review come up, and I listen to the call. I do some QC. I'm like, okay, I get it. I call her in. I'm like, hey, did you have a guy call for donuts? She's like, yeah, this weirdo is calling, trying to sell donuts. I told him we're a law firm. Get lost. And we're like, okay, well, so read this review. And she's like, oh, that jerk. So I call the guy up. I'm like, hey, I'm awfully sorry. Look, nobody loves donuts more than I do. I will buy every donut you can possibly get your hands on. And we'll eat them until I physically am incapable of doing so. Everyone knows at the office, like, you really got to keep me away from donuts. And the guy's like, yeah, like for sure. And I was like, but I would love for you to take that down. He's like, oh, I'm never going to do that. Lo and behold, he gets in a car accident 2 days later, and he called us.
Yes.
And so where I think a lot of firms would have been like, what? I'm not going to represent this guy. This guy was awful to us. I'm like, hell no. I love a good long play. I was like, we're going to do it. I'm going to get this guy to change his review. So we represent him in the car accident. We get him some money. He's satisfied with the results. So I'm like, listen, I'd really love it if you could, take down that review. We don't care about our community. It was a simple misunderstanding. It was her first day on the job. He goes,
sure.
I'm never going to do it. He refused to take it down.
I mean,
so you just can't win.
Well,
we wear that like a badge of honor now.
In the old days, it would be, you'd get a review or you'd get someone, talk about you. It might end up in the newspaper.
Right. These
days, every guest, every client at your law firm is a potential reviewer. And so all you can do is just try and do things properly.
Right.
And for us, that's, create a nice ambience, sell the best food that you could possibly hope to get. Service should be very friendly and professional, and welcome guests and thank them. Simple.
I'm a big believer in customer service. So I always, half the time if I'm speaking or lecturing in the firm about something, I'm talking about customer service. And I feel very strongly that I only like using the word client because it almost makes it seem like they're not a customer. So I always liken it to being a patient, right? So patients all have the worst customer service. You get told when to show up, where to go, what to eat, what not to eat, take off all your clothes, spread your legs. Be for real, right? And it's all done. It's like, well, look, we're saving lives here, right? And so customer service is like, you can forget about it. They don't even care. Even if you were to bring it up to them, you'd be like, hey, doctor, this is terrible customer service. They would look at you like you're insane, right? So it's like, I don't even like to use the word client because I think you fall into a pattern of like, well, clients aren't customers. It's something different, and it's not. And so I'm always telling people, it's like, look, how would you like to be treated, right? When you walk into a pub or you walk into a law firm or anywhere, what's important to you? And it's all the same things, no matter what business it is. You just want someone who's like friendly, like marginally. You don't even have to, as I tell them, I was like, if you can't do it, then just fake it. Just be fake friendly then, and don't worry about it. When you go home, just like, frown for the rest of the night, Be friendly, be reassuring. Like, maybe people are coming in. Like you can imagine maybe someone's walking down the street. They don't know what this is. And they're kind of walking in like, is this a place I want to be? Right. And they're kind of unsure of themselves. Maybe they are tourists. Like for all I know, I'm walking into like a private club, right? How many times you've been a tourist and you're walking around, you're like, I don't know, should I walk in here? What is this? Right. So you reassure them. You're like, hey, come on in. Yeah. Hey, you did the right thing. Hey, come on. This is what people want. It's what we all want. So if you can't give them that, they're never going to be happy. And you can be the very best lawyer, or you can serve the most perfect pint. But if you have like a shitty attitude about it, they're never going to come back.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% agree. And, I live in the neighborhood. So for me, with our business, it's my neighbors that are the guests often. And
yeah. So,
you want to do the right thing by your neighbors and, be a part of the neighborhood properly.
Right. Yeah. And, that's, for our business, we often can get trapped into thinking that we're not part of our community, right? Because you're just in a high rise somewhere, so you feel there's like isolation. And we're not grassroots, right? We're not like knocking on doors and shaking hands.
Sure.
But it's really the wrong approach to take. Every one of my lawyers lives in New Orleans, has lived in New Orleans forever. You know, I'm born and raised here. So we are part of the community. And so whether it's, you know, physically your neighbor, we may not be for us, just in the line of work we're in. If my neighbor were to be injured, I think I know one of my neighbors, like if you are injured, no, but it may be something different, you know, but I'm a huge believer in this. And I think it's important to every single month, I'm kind of reminding them like, we're not going to treat customers like, you know, like the clients. Starbucks always had a great, you know, whether you love Starbucks or not, you know, they always had a great motto. It was just say yes. And it's so simple, you know, it's like I remember I was my first kind of non-grocery boy, like grocery bag guy, you know, bagger job was working at a Starbucks. And it was in New Orleans. Starbucks in New Orleans is like, in those days was tough, right? So PJ's dominated the market and Community and CC's dominated the market.
Yes.
So Starbucks coming in was really bad. This is back in like 90, 98, 99. And we were just sort of kind of starting. And you couldn't do anything right? So thank God we didn't have social media. So otherwise people would be like, oh, look at this crappy cappuccino. And so people were always unhappy. And I was always amazed. So my manager would always come as she was training us and had this way of making them feel at ease and was constantly giving away free coffee. And was just, you know, like it was nothing, like it was water. And, you know, she was like, just say yes. It's like the company motto, like just say yes. I don't care what they ask for. Is it illegal? No, then just say yes. You know, so they're not asking you for drugs. And then they would just give away coffee because the concept was, well, we're going to throw away some of this coffee, whether we sell it or not. So we might as well just be giving it away because we want them coming back in the door. It's a great way to learn customer service. I don't think Starbucks is that way anymore. I think that, you know, they've got some work to do, but in those days, they were so focused on a clean establishment, a friendly face, and this willingness to just whatever it is you want, we want to accommodate you, and we don't care what it is. So I always remember that. I can't do it the same way in my law firm, but I can get as close. It's aspirational. I can get as close as, you know, as we can. Well, look, I love the establishment. I love it. What's your favorite menu item?
Well, the steak and Guinness pie, which isn't really on the menu, it's just a special at the moment, but that's amazing. But if I had to choose, probably the Fishmonger's pie.
Oh, okay.
Which is it's a dish you've probably heard of, like shepherd's pie or cottage pie. So it's an equivalent of that, but instead of lamb or beef, we use local Gulf shrimp and local Gulf fish.
I was going to ask you what kind of fish. Was it cod or?
Well, so we only buy stuff that we can get locally, and so it just depends what's available. When we opened in the fall, we were using a lot of sheep's head and puppy drum, and then the last couple of months we've been selling it with redfish.
Okay.
But then always with some Gulf shrimp as well, and then it's topped with some nice mashed potato, and then some melted cheese, which is probably why I like it so much.
Nice.
But it's a traditional dish, and you could my mum used to make it when we were growing up. So it's definitely an English dish, but you know, being able to lean on some of the local ingredients from Louisiana makes it I think kind of unique.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I've had Fishmonger's pie, but with cod, right? What you would expect, or you know, whatever I'm assuming it was. So I love sheep's head. And it's nice that you're starting to see restaurants kind of lean on the sheep's head.
Yes.
For a long time. It's hard to clean, right? They're a pain. They're a lot of fun to catch, though. I don't know if you like to fish, but to me, growing up, catching a sheep's head was like the most fun.
Yeah.
Because they just have a lot of fight in them.
Yeah. No, it's you know, we rely on the local purveyors, you know, and the fishermen. It's funny, like, because you know, even we're not really by the coast here. It's an hour and a half or an hour to get there, but there really is a connection with the fishermen, with the oyster farmers, the oystermen. I mean, we will buy our oysters, and it's the oftentimes it's the person that's been out on the boat,
he's doing it,
collecting them and then bringing them directly to the restaurant. You know, which is amazing when you think about supply chains for food and beverage. And the way that the F&B industry is globally and in America. that we're still in this community in New Orleans able to take advantage of, some of this local, I'd say farm to table, but oyster farm to table.
Yeah,
and it could literally be in the ocean in the morning, and you could be eating it in the evening, which is pretty cool.
And it's not radioactive. So
well, we hope it's not, but yes.
What is it, like the recall of shrimp across America? And I'm like, oh, you see the headline, you assume it's going to be like, salmonella, and you're like, oh no, it's radioactive. Oh, okay. Well, I was like, I'm definitely going to buy my Louisiana shrimp.
Well, I think there are markets where you're not even going to get American product, but we're still, again, this is one of the reasons why New Orleans is so special, because we're still in a place where we can lean on the local connections and those communities of people that are fishing.
They need our help. They need
they,
us to
they
buy
do,
it.
but they've been doing it for generations, and they're able to continue, thankfully.
Yeah, I'm actually hopeful that some of the changes we're seeing, be it radioactive shrimp or national politics, might actually end up helping our local fishermen and shrimpers, they've been working hard for about 20 some odd years now, trying to make a living. You have Katrina and you have BP, and it's just this like endless cycle. And then you've got importing seafood, which I'll give my 1 second plug of, like, if you saw how seafood was being caught out of other parts of the world, you would only buy it locally.
That's right. 100%.
You would never, support slavery of people, being chained to a boat to catch fish. So I love that you're buying a local product. I think that's awesome. I think it's, again, it's another commitment. You're committing yourself to the community by establishing a business, which, trust me, I know it's not easy. And then reaffirming that commitment by buying local ingredients and sourcing locally. It gives a better product to people that they like, right? But also, you're helping your own community. So I think it's awesome.
No, thank you. Yes.
Well, thanks for letting us take your restaurant. Thanks for giving me your time. I love it. If you want a proper pint, or you want a fishmonger's pie, or any of these things, you need to come check out the Bell. I am absolutely coming here to check it out. And in fact, I've got my wife to commit that we can go out every couple of weeks with a babysitter, because we're in the thick of parenting right now. So I got her to commit. She's like, you know what? I think that's a good idea. So first order of business. But as you said, kids are welcome in the restaurant, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So bring your kids. But I love it. Thanks so much. Thanks for being on the podcast.
That was my pleasure. Thank you for joining us at the Bell.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me today on Above the Legal Limit. If you enjoyed the show and you want to hear more about business and law, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't like the show, keep it to yourself. Remember, there's no limit to what we can achieve. We will see you next week. Until then, even though we're above the legal limit, let's drive safely. Cheers, everyone.